Welcome to Tales of Hope, where every paw print counts. Animal tie in the house, spreading love, hear the sounds. Every week animal stories, rights and welfare in the mix. Step up, take action, we're giving animals a fix. Tales of Hope, raise your voice, make some noise. Change the game for every animal, girl and boy. One world, one fight, let's turn the page. A future for the voiceless, bring hope to center stage.
A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our listeners, wherever you are in the world. Today, we have Laura with us, who is a trailblazer in animal law, fierce educator, and a compassionate advocate, shaping our future defenders of animal with a heart that beats for justice, community, and a beloved fur family. Laura, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me and for such a kind introduction.
Now, Laura, without further ado, your journey spans law, animal sheltering, and education. What was the spark that first drew you to animal law? And what has kept you out there since you're still there?
Yeah, still here. Well, I think like a lot of young people, I grew up loving animals, wanting to do what I could to help protect them. And so, I mean, this kind of just sparked from a camp counselor who was vegetarian and started reading Vegetarian Times and just realized there was a different way to live that didn't involve eating or hurting animals. So my family was very supportive of that. And I know not all the kids are lucky to have that. But yeah, I started my first animal rights club in junior high and has just been, involved with that, those issues, both environmental and animal issues growing up. And I wanted a career that, combined all of that, to be able to, be here having to work. I might as well do something that, that makes a difference.
Oh, but it's really nice, when you mention vegetarianism. I mean, especially in the West, there are very few people, who believe that just to satisfy our taste buds or palates, we need to kill, these living beings. So it's such a wonderful thought, when you said that, in your family and your family also being supportive. That's very rarely you see, you come across.
Yeah. I would say, especially in the 80s, I was not normal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's getting,
I mean, today it's a different ball game. I know there's a lot of people who are aware. There's a lot of veganism that's been going around, and the awareness has been there. But yes, in the 80s, I know, even when I grew up in the, 80s, because it was very difficult for us even. But for us Indians, it's a different ball game. For me, it was because of in the family and the spiritual side of it. So for me, I've been almost a vegetarian for almost 35 plus years now.
Yeah, I'm close to that too.
All right.
About 32. But so then, and really what's kept me in the animal field and as you said, kind of some different roles, as a practicing attorney, as, somebody developing animal law programs and as a teacher, a professor, and just as a, community activist. I'm a mom, so, getting involved with all of, just all the kids stuff. You just have it's a way to make a difference. But what keeps me in it now is, I really love working with students. I love kind of the mission of the Animal Law and Policy Institute, which is our program at Vermont Law and Graduate School, is knowing that I'm working with students who also want to change the world and make it better. And our school really fosters that mission of being idealists, realists, and catalysts for change. So it's really fun working with students and then seeing them launch off into their careers and who are out there also working in the field.
That's a very good thing, what you mentioned. I believe with the concept, catch them young. So if you catch them young.
I know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, from founding the National Center for Animal Law to now shaping one of the world's fastest growing programs, How has the landscape of animal law changed before your eyes?
Yeah, so I graduated from Lewis and Clark in 2001. And at that time, there were only about 6 schools that were even offering an animal law class at all. And then so as a student, part of, as editor-in-chief of the Animal Law Review, I was president of the Student Animal Legal Defense Fund, which was our student, group. It's just getting a lot of calls from students at other schools or professors that are interested in being able to develop classes or, host conferences, attend our conferences, do all those things. And so just really saw an opportunity, especially at Lewis and Clark. It's really well known for environmental law, and just wanted animal law to have what every other traditional area of law has, and have animal law students, be able to have a clinic and moot court competitions. And at that time, there were a number of professors who published the first animal law casebook. So it was just a way of just really recognizing that it's its legitimate field, it's its own field of law and of practice and study. And so, so at the National Center for Animal Law, it was housed at Lewis and Clark to develop their animal law program, but then to also promote legal education for animal advocacy, just trying to say that lawyers have a role in this movement as advocates, doing policy work, challenging laws, writing laws, defending those who are breaking the laws. That is, so loved being there and doing that. And with the Animal Law Clinic, really had hands-on classes or hands-on cases for students to really learn how to be a lawyer in this space. And so able to represent direct clients. I moved to the Oregon coast and worked in a law practice with my dear friend from law school, Holly Gibbons, and she's still there practicing at the Oregon coast, but had the opportunity to then work in animal sheltering. And I was the director of an animal law shelter doing rescue, disaster response, and preparedness, all, just kind of and we were part of the sheriff's office. And so there's actually animal services that were part of our team. And then it's just kind of that hands-on frontline animal cruelty investigations and caring for them and getting involved with prosecutions. But then when Delcy Winders was recruited to start the animal law program officially at Vermont Law and Graduate School in 2021, she reached out and I asked if I could come with, and she said yes. So we've both been part of the animal law program at Vermont for the last 4 years. And we now have a concentration in animal law that you can get either residentially or online, a master's in animal protection policy. We have the master's of legal studies that has some animal concentration. And then we're also going to be launching a micro-credential program. So if people don't want necessarily a master's degree or a law degree, there's a way to take, kind of a bundle of courses in animal protection policy. So and an animal law LLM, which is a master's in animal law. So we've been busy, but it's been great.
Well, that's a lot that you've been doing. Now, just out of curiosity, are these courses available worldwide, or is it restricted to U.S. residents only?
No, all of our degree programs are available online and residentially, and so we certainly welcome international students. And we do have quite a few that take classes online, and we also very fortunate that people travel to Vermont and and study and live here for 1 to 3 years as well. So that's been really fun.
Wonderful. Now, moving forward, how do you think animal protection law reveals about a society value? Are we evolving fast enough?
No, we're not. No, but only because, there's just so much animal suffering that takes place in human hands. I mean, in the trillions of animals a year. It's really kind of incomprehensible in terms of the number of animals, especially that we use for food. we're in the, billions and trillions, billions of land animals, trillions of marine animals, but also the animals that we use for research and entertainment. Um, just the breeding of companion animals. There's just the list goes on and on about all the ways that we kind of exploit animals in our lives. And what's interesting, so part of our program, I teach animal ethics as part of our program. And a lot of that is really the foundation of, what we're doing, why we do it, what's permissible, should not be, why we make the decisions that we do, and then just how ethics and science all interplay with the legal system. Interesting questions of, does the law reflect our values, or do our values drive change in law and policy? Yeah, it's complicated, but it's interesting to try to figure out how we're supposed to, balance everyone's interests, because ultimately, they're never going to be treated equally. But how do you, even if you're talking about human balancing, how do we make all of our decisions that we do? So yeah, we have very interesting discussions in our classes.
Perfect. No, because what you rightly said, I don't know whether I should say this as it or not. Today itself, we've had a very detrimental ruling by the Supreme Court of India. And there's a lot that's been going on. There's been a lot of chatter that's been going on, that they've decided to round off almost 300,000 stray dogs in the capital city of India and put them into pounds and confine them to the pounds, which is a very sad thing, because even though the Constitution and the law of India and the Animal Welfare Board, which is the ministry, clearly states the law, there is a clear statement by the Constitution that we have to show compassion. But sorry about that, please.
No, it's okay. My dog's over here too. So.
No, I have 3 at home, you see.
Okay. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, the experience of being the director of an animal shelter for over a decade, obviously is, certainly impacted my thoughts about the animal sheltering world. Our goal was to be, a model of how to be a progressive, small municipal shelter in a small town. And I, hopefully we succeeded in making those best decisions as possible. Not having to euthanize for time or for space. Everybody was there till they found a home. But then balancing, is it, and we've been talking a lot in the United States too about, is the way that we have animals very confined to individual homes. We don't really have, free roaming dogs, like you might see maybe in India or Mexico or, or other countries. And, is that necessarily is it a good thing or a bad thing? If it, maybe they're happy wandering around as long as they have food, and make sure people step in and make sure if you need medical help. But, in some ways there's arguments and, talk about, were they happier than, a dog being home alone for 9 hours a day, and not really getting walked or having their interactions. So, I don't know. Again, it's a very interesting ethical.
No, I know. What you mentioned rightly, dog being alone for 9 hours. I think I was speaking to one of my guests, and he said, it does affect their emotional being by keeping them locked 9 hours, being alone at home, waiting for you. Emotionally, for their emotional development, it's quite not the happy side. So at my place, me and my wife, we try to make sure we never leave them alone. It's either me or her. We've never, since we've had, for the 4 years, what we've had, 2 of them are rescues. And we've made sure that we never leave them alone. One of us has to be home with them, come what may.
Okay. Wow. That's very very dedicated.
Well, it's
I go for like a few hours at a time, but yeah.
no, yes, I know.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes at times we do feel, caught up. Let's be very honest, because we know. Uh, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we realize being with them, it's a different ball game. At the end of the day, I know there are times when even I have to go and do things,
Yeah.
but then we are all confined to it that we don't want to leave them alone, because
Yeah.
uh, my wife is also of the opinion that we've seen a lot of cases in this country where the dog walkers or the caretakers uh, do a lot of nasty things with the furry babies, and the problem is these kids cannot speak or tell us what happened,
Right.
and that is what scares me and my wife both. We don't want to leave them in the hands of people that we don't know. Yes,
Yeah.
there is there is this boarding that we keep them, uh, which is when we have no other alternative. Like I remember a couple of weeks back, my mother was hospitalized.
Oh,
She's 85, and my wife had to go to work as well because her bosses were in town, and there was no way we could have left them at home. And that was the time that that was the time we left them for 5 days at the shell at the boarding.
yeah.
I mean, in the last 4 years, if we were to look at a number, we've just left them twice at the boarding, and that is also
Yeah.
when we've had a situation that my mother had to be admitted to the hospital, and wife had to go to work because there
Yeah.
was, and so
Yeah.
that situation is something which is beyond us to control.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they had lots of fun playing with their doggy friends.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think all of it, I think if with all of these issues, what I would just hope is that people are conscious about them and like
Yes,
make, and it's like none of us are perfect. We can't do anything perfectly. Like there, there's, and who know, there maybe isn't a line of being perfect, but I think of with food choices and how we treat our companion animals and where we, what is our entertainment, and all those sorts of things, is that if everyone thought about it a little bit more, I think there'd be more changes.
absolutely. It's just being more conscious. Now,
Yeah.
for those unfamiliar with animal law, how do legal framework affects the life of animal from farmed to companion to wild? I've taken all the three out there together.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Well, what's really interesting to think about too is how we put animals into different buckets like that. And then how we construct laws that really then um, benefit us more than them. And like, so, take like a little like potbelly pig or, in one situation, they are food. In another situation, they're a family pet. In another situation, that might be part of like, a sanctuary and rescue, So all of this comes down to really who owns them and why. And then we kind of fit the law around that. So, I mean, I'm sure, as so many people know, like what we do to farmed animals in, industrial animal agriculture, we would never be able to do for dogs and cats. I mean, people would
Absolutely.
be outraged about the tail docking and the anesthesia, or debeaking or cutting, body parts off without anesthesia and the intensive confinement. It's like, so it's just there's just this very strange kind of like cognitive dissonance that we have as a human species to be able to fit things where we want to, where it's convenient. So I think the law really reflects that, because even if you look at, um, and I have to say I don't know Indians, all the laws over in India very well, but looking at what's happening in the United States, and I imagine they're probably fairly similar, is that with our anti-cruelty statutes, it says here's what an animal is, and that's by each state is defined a little bit differently, which is also interesting. And then, and you can't be cruel, you can't neglect them, you can't abuse them. And like, except, there are common husbandry practices. So if this is normal within farming, you can do these things, except if it's in medical, experimentation, or, product research. It's like, well, then you can do these things that we wouldn't, that we wouldn't normally think are is cruel. So, hunting and trapping, you can do it this way. So, um, I think there's a lot of carve outs for how we want to be able to use animals that allow some things that, if you take them on an individual basis versus a large population, we wouldn't tolerate it for an individual.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think
so yeah, but then
we,
yeah, and then like moving on to wildlife too, it's again like, are they captive wildlife? Are they in the wild? At that point, like who owns them? It's more like the state, and the state regulates that. And then yeah, and then there's all sorts of interesting conversations about where do we step in trying to manage wildlife, and are humans actually able to manage anything in like nature instead of recognizing we're part of nature and it's not something that we can really control.
it's yeah, you've just mentioned the right thing. We humans, we try to manage instead of just aligning ourselves. We've destroyed our nature. Let's be very honest. Most of us, we know it.
Yeah.
We are killing animals just to satisfy our taste buds. We are doing everything we think. I've been talking to quite a few guests of mine on the show, and they've all we've all had this common understanding that we humans, we think everything we own and it should be according to us. We're just being too domination. We really don't, we're not making our decisions based on our conscience. It's just what is convenient to us. It's all about convenience.
Very true.
Now, where does animal law currently fail animals the most? And what gives you hope for change?
Yeah, I think, along those same lines, what's a little bit hard is that even when we have laws that protect animals, the enforcement is really difficult. In terms of, if you look at kind of federal animal protections versus environmental protections, we don't have what are called citizen suit provisions for animals. So if we see that something is happening in the environmental context, there's a way for citizens to get involved and help push that enforcement going forward. And we don't have those on the federal level. But also there's very few, federal protections for animals really much at all. And anything that we do have, say, there's no federal law that really regulates how animals are treated on the farms. We have the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act that talks about how to, standards for slaughter, but they exclude poultry, which is the vast majority of animals who are slaughtered. Or we have the Animal Welfare Act that protects animals used in research, but it excludes mice, rats, and birds, which are the vast majority of animals that we use. So even things that we have carve-outs and difficulty getting enforcement. So I think that is, and I can, go on to other, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, or, all these other things that it's just, it's hard to get even the minimal protections that we have to be enforced. What gives me hope is really seeing the growth of animal law, and that, the number of schools that are teaching classes now. We are one of, I'd say, about 10 animal law and policy programs, throughout the United States. There's growth of animal law and policy around the country and around the world. And we have this international network of people that are working on legal protections. In every corner of the planet, which is great. And I just think there's a changing, it just keeps evolving in terms of people recognizing this, sentience of animals, their intelligence, their ability to communicate, their own, so it's like there's the science of animal behavior is really evolving, and the more that we're learning about animals is also then breaking down like those barriers that we have about how we treat them. Because if you know that I mean, I think the both of us are well aware that animals feel pain and suffer, um, but if scientifically there's irrefutable evidence that animals, feel pain, they do suffer, mentally, emotionally, physically, then it's something that has to then, really influence how we evolve our laws and policies. So I see that as a big push in terms of what we're going to be able to do to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Now, if you could amend just one existing law or policy today to reduce suffering, what would it be and why?
Yeah, so kind of a cheating answer would be I want to eliminate all intense confinement. And so that would just be all sorts of different for all sorts of different animals. But in terms of some particular issues that are really egregious, I think are like ocean trawling, in terms of the vast number. I mean, again, like we're killing trillions of marine animals. We don't even track it. We don't even know. And these huge ocean trawlers that are scraping the floor of the ocean. I mean, it's ruining habitat and biodiversity and killing the target animals in a really cruel way. And also then all sorts of non-target species that are just being killed for really no reason. And so I don't know, I just see that as that and an issue that's not really thought about or talked about. It just happens way out in the ocean, to animals that people don't really think a lot about. Um, and then in terms of like what we're doing to farmed animals, like again, like the broiler chickens, the chickens that we raise, um, again, I think it's a lot of that people don't really think about it or really know really what happens and the number of animals that are suffering through that system. So yeah, just a few things.
No, it's you rightly said. There are a lot of things which we humans give a blind eye to, or probably we're not conscious enough what's happening around us. Like you said, the trawlers in the ocean and the marine life, and the animal. I mean, those sea animals that we kill, and all those big animals. I mean, even the big, fishes like whales and all that have been doing for the trade. I think it's just that it's our basically we humans are ignoring it.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, sort of. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the Animal Law and Policy Institute is training tomorrow's advocates. What kind of mindset or values do you hope your students carry into the world?
Yeah, I think so Delcy, the director of the program, she likes to think of the work that she does, kind of as like as a tree, and the branches of the tree, we also kind of think of ourselves as a little family, but that people are out there and with their own little saplings, their own branches, and it just keeps growing. I like thinking what we're doing as kind of a garden of planting seeds, and also there's some like students that come in who already know this is what they want to do, or they have a very or they know about animal law and they're coming for our program, and we're able to really kind of foster that direction and opportunities for them. It's also great that students that they might be coming to our school for climate change or restorative justice or something else, and also then get really passionate about incorporating animals into that work that they're doing. But I think even too, I mean, at different law schools or different programs or whatever, I think that even if somebody's not going to take that on as the primary work that they're doing, that they see it and that makes them think about it. And as we have our programs and we have our our vegan Thanksgiving dinner, that of course, everyone's invited, and it's just a way for people to think like, oh, like, this is just a different way and things, to think about. So, I think just, and you never know when you plant those seeds, with people, like what is going to then water that or nurture that or have that turn into something maybe like different, along their path.
But at least there is one thing, at least from what I understand, at least one thing is for sure, that, you guys are planting a seed of at least empathy and compassion to be towards other living beings as well.
Yes.
Yeah. You said before that your goal is to center animals in environment protection. Can you share how those two worlds intersect?
Yes, yeah, and with all the faculty and staff that are part of our program, we care about all the animals and all the different ways that we're working on all the things. But part of it is Vermont Law and Graduate School is really well known, as a top environmental law school. You know what? I think there are a lot of different schools that have really good environmental programs. What I love about our school is it's an environmental law school. Like that's our purpose, and that's what we do. And so, with really having an established animal law program, it's a great way to have projects and intersections, and as we have one of the nation's best food and agriculture law and policy programs. We have one of the best restorative justice programs, and energy programs. And so, as we are thinking about, and obviously, animals are impacted by what we're doing in terms of climate and energy and how we're developing our food systems. So part of it is just making sure that the animal's voice is in all of those things and those decisions that are being made, and the policies, is how is this impacting animals, as these decisions are made, and how do we make sure that their interests are represented in the best way that we can, that is allowable. But like how do windmills affect migratory bird species, or how is it that if we're if we're talking about the ethics of even like artificial intelligence, how do we make sure that if this is getting built on how things were in the past, that's not the best for animals. Like, so how do we make sure like their voice and their interests are being reflected in these new things that are happening too? So yeah, and there's just huge intersections. Even if a huge example of the intersection of animal environmental law is really, again, in the confined animal feeding operations. So, and that impacts, labor, it impacts, we have environmental justice issues in terms of the communities that these huge, farms are part of, in terms of, and what we're doing to the animals and their waste, and the water quality issues, the air quality issues, how it economically affects small towns and all of the people that live and work there. So there's definitely, and I really enjoy and appreciate the collaborations that we have with all the work that we do, is really looking at the intersectionality of all these things, because we're non-human animals, like we're animals too, and how all that we're doing is impacting everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, you rightly said, that they are all interconnected or intersectional, because I remember I just recently, about 2 weeks back, I had somebody on, one of the guests, Dr. Andrew Knight. He's a vet, and apart from that, he talks a lot about veganism and, how it impacts the environment as well. Mm-hmm. And he said, I think he also mentioned, if I'm not wrong, that, this is only one of the fields that has highest number of research, in terms of 80 research officially documented in the journals, where it proves, it scientifically proves that if we take care of our animals, we also automatically take care of our environment.
Yeah.
And, it was I think, from my perspective, what I feel was, because it was an eye-opening conversation for me as well, because there are a lot of things which we are also unaware of. And given when you have scientific proof that, if you do this, it impacts this and this. And I was really impressed. So, there was a lot of things I've been asking him if he could share all the data. And he was like, Anil, I'll be more than happy to share everything with you.
Yeah.
All the reports, all the journals. And I was like, yeah, please, let's see. And, if it's all about creating an awareness amongst us people, because I think no matter what, at times we're so engrossed in our lives that there are certain things we just tend to overlook.
Yeah. Yeah.